Alright, this is John Colo with OKRaw.com. Today we have another exciting episode for you. And in today's episode, what we're going to be doing is answering you guys' questions, a Q&A video. I don't do this too often. I do this on my gardening channel, but not on my raw foods channel too often. So if you want more of these videos and you like this video, hey, please be sure to give me a thumbs up to let me know. That'll encourage me to make more Q&A vids for you guys, since I likely make all kinds of other kind of vids. Anyways, I'm coming at you from my backyard garden. Beautiful fall day here. My peppers are still, going off, slowly on their way out, but I still got plenty of ripe peppers to harvest. And then I'm starting to plant out my fall and winter garden. Over on this side, we have lots of different heirloom lettuces, including mostly red varieties of lettuces. I've been trying to, update and modify and improve my diet on a daily basis. And I want to encourage you guys to also do that. And I'll share some of my tips with you guys in this Q&A episode. So if you have a question for me, be sure to send it to me over the YouTube email system. If you click the About on the OK Raw page, which is basically my channel page, there's a way to contact me there, or you could try to post a question on the discussion tab, both of which I will read sooner or later and then may include in a Q&A video like this one. All right, let's get on to today's questions. First question is from Viva La Ra. Hi John, are you posting any CRFF videos while you were at the CRFF? Tried looking for some. How was your experience? All right, Viva La Ra. So CRFF, what is that? That's the Costa Rica Fruit Festival. So am I posting any Costa Rica Fruit Festival videos? Yes, I have 2 planned. And, they're currently in editing and need to get finished up with some final comments and work. I did go there, and I will have some videos coming out. Overall, my experience was mixed. There's good things and bad things, and that's how it is in life. There's always good things in life, and there's bad things in life. And I always try to just tell like it is, and when my videos come out, that I'll share more of the story on how it actually was. Instead of me saying how it was, I'll actually show you guys how it was and get other people's opinions on how it was with their experiences, because I interviewed and more people than anybody else I know about individual people's experiences at the event. So you could not only hear my experience, but you could hear everybody's experience. And this, in my opinion, will give you a much better view of the whole event overall. So yeah, you're gonna have to click that subscribe button right down below and wait for my videos that are upcoming on that. All right, next question is from Saven Lexicanum. John, is all this for fun and income, or is there a significant health benefit? Nothing commercialized or outlandish. I just really need to know if growing my own food right gives me youthful energy. Is it just to keep the doctor away? All right, Sven. So here's the thing. I got involved in this lifestyle not because some fun and income thing. I got this for a life or not life situation. I almost lost my life when I was in my 20s, and that's why I do what I do now. I encourage everybody to eat a plant-dominated diet, and not just any old plants, but I want people to eat a fruit and vegetable-dominated diet, and especially fruits and concentrate on fruits and vegetables that are high in nutrients, phytonutrients and phytochemicals. In my latest research and what I've learned are the most important foods on the planet, as much as enzymes and water content and all these other things are also important, right? Let's not forget about those. It's also these beneficial phytochemicals and phytonutrients that are really the anti-disease and pro-life things, or components in the food that'll keep you healthy. Plus another non-researched component of the food that research will be coming out one of these days, I know it, is the life force energy in the food. So aside from just eating a fruit and vegetable dominated diet, or all fruits and vegetables, or mostly all fruits and vegetables like I do, I want people to also eat foods with life force energy. This is something that's not really even qualified at this point in science, but I personally feel a difference when I have something that's, much more vibrant, fresh picked, whether, I picked my own peppers off the plant, or I harvested my own lettuce leaf right out of my garden, take it from the leaf right into my mouth. I mean, there's more nutrients in that. I'm growing it in the best way possible that I know of, including rock dust and minerals and other kinds of trace minerals in my soil, as well as a lot of different, creating a good healthy soil microbiome and healthy bacteria and fungi and arthropods and nematodes and earthworms in my soil so that they could basically allow the plants to be healthy, so that when I eat healthy plants, I'm going to be healthier from it. And furthermore, there's this life force energy. They call it in different languages, in German they call it biophotons, they may call it prana or chi. I think there's a Japanese word, I always forget that one. But anyways, there's all these different words in different, places around the world that qualify this in a word. We don't really have an English word except for maybe biophotons. But that's like basically the life force energy in the food. And if you were to do Carillion photography, you could take a Carillion photograph of, something that's living, and it has like this energy vibe. It's kind of like an aura photo, but it's not really the same, an energy vibe around it. And we want to eat things that are full of life, that have more of this life force energy. And, my food that I grew myself, that I harvest and pick straight up off the plant, or my fruits off the tree, I harvest and pick it, has more of this life force energy. And I do believe it does make a difference in eating a high antioxidant rich, plant-centric diet focused on fruits and vegetables. Also, there's some other foods that are quite valuable that are other plants, such as beans, legumes. These will lead to increased health. So is it worth it? It depends on, you, right? Some people will tell me, I have friends that I went to college, high school with. John, it's not worth it, man. I'm not eating that rabbit food. I'm going to enjoy my hamburgers and my McDonald's and all this stuff. And I'm like, it's everybody's opinion. It's everybody's own opinion, experience, and what they want to choose to do, right? If they want to experience and choose to eat McDonald's because they like those flavor sensations, or they like how it maybe makes them feel, I don't really care. I just want to let people know what the options are, because we are not told the options in our society. We are not told that we need to eat the majority of our diet, fruits and vegetables, to have the healthiest, longest life, And some people may be willing to sacrifice. Like, I don't care if I lose my life young, or, can't play with my grandkids or even my kids when I get older because I got diabetes and they're going to amputate my leg, or I got edema, or whatever it is, right? Just know that that is probably going to happen to you if you eat junk food. And if you want to make that choice that to eat junk and have, maybe bad health outcomes near the end of your life, or when you get older, that's up to you. I don't care. That's not what I'm choosing to do. And so each person needs to make their own personal determination if that's what you want to do personally. And I mean, there's documented scientific research, journal proven stuff, Check out Dr. Greger's book that I recently just about finished on audiobooks that I listen to when I'm gardening. How Not to Die, right? And then read that book and then ask yourself, is it worth it, right? And in my opinion, just growing your own food, growing it, nutrient dense, and growing the highest quality food just takes everything that Dr. Greger said and moves it up to the next level. And that's simply what I've been trying to do now for the last 21 years. So that's what it is. All right, next question is from O. Cebolos. Hello, Mr. Kohler. I just want to say that you have been a huge inspiration for me living a healthier lifestyle. I've already purchased an Omega VSJ, and right now I'm in primarily juicing organic carrots because they are so cheap and readily available. I actually live not too far from the LA Wholesale Produce Terminal. I've been there once, but the selection was very limited compared to what I've seen in your newest produce haul video. Please, if you have the time, could you recommend the vendors you frequent? Is there a particular location you visit? I'm sorry for the super long message and hope to hear from you soon. All right, so, I don't know if there's any particular vendors that I frequent. There are some vendors that I go to for certain things, but basically what I do every time is I walk around and have x-ray, eagle eye vision, right? And inspect and check out things. Unfortunately, last time I went to the Wholesale Produce Terminal, it was raining, so I was not as effective as I could be because a lot of the vendors actually had all their stuff covered with tarps, so I can't even see stuff. So the thing to do is just get there early and walk around and have fun. I love shopping. Like, I'll go to 5 different stores to find the best deal and the best prices and the best quality produce, right? And when I go to the Wholesale Produce Terminal, it's no different. I'll get there at 5 a.m. I'll walk all the, the new side or the big commercial vendors, that may be a little bit more intimidating, going up to them and guys behind computers and all this stuff, than the Mexican, old terminal or old produce terminal where there's just guys. It's almost like a farmer's market actually, where they have all the boxes laid open. On the newer side, basically you'll see some boxes and some things, and you're just going to walk around. There's more and more organics over on that side. Sometimes the prices are still really good over there, and sometimes they're kind of high, but you just got to know the prices, and you got to just ask the prices and look for the things that are organic and say, hey, how much is that box of lettuce or that box of tomatoes that has a USDA organic symbol, or, says, starts with a number 9 on the produce label. So you just got to look and be aware. Depending on the time you go, there'll be either more or less. But the last time I went, especially on the, the new side produce terminal, there's a lot more organic than there ever was before. And I believe, industry's catching on. They're bringing more organic in. And I also would encourage you to check my latest video on the wholesale produce terminal. I made 2 videos to date in LA. My latest one shows more of my newer and refined techniques to get the best deals. So hope that helps you out there. Next question is from Jeff L. Do you still offer 30-minute coaching sessions? Yes, I do, but I'm really behind and seeing when those come in. And I always try to get a hold of people when I'm able, but sometimes it takes me a little bit of time to get back to people since I've been traveling like crazy and just trying to get caught up in my life. And then when I do get a coaching session, I try to fit those into my life whenever I can, but it is still really hard for me to get back to people. So I do ask, if you do sign up for a coaching session, which I'll post a link down below if you want that, be patient as I try to get back to you. I may not be able to do it immediately or even within the next week after you book it, all right? So let's see. The next question is from Samuel Lenartz. Hi, John. Are carrot tops / greens edible? Thank you. I'd really appreciate if you could take the time to answer me. I believe I heard you say in one of your videos that it's not edible, but when you search it on Google, all entries say it is. That's why I'm confused, and I have carrot tops. Thank you. All right, Samuel. So here's the thing, right? What I originally learned about carrot tops is that they were not edible, and even chickens wouldn't eat them, according to Jay Cordich, formerly known as the Juice Man. So that's what I heard from Jay right when I got into raw foods, and so that's what I believed for the longest time until the internet came out and I was able to do more research, and I'm like, hey, wait, people eat carrot tops, or at least they're edible. I don't know if people eat them in any mass quantity. So then I've changed my opinions on this. So some of my older videos may say that they're not edible. They actually are edible. Now, whether you want to eat them or not is a whole nother question or matter. They don't taste so good in my opinion, and but they probably have some nutrients in there. I would focus on like the deep, rich purple carrots before I ate green carrot tops, and I would much rather eat some kind of like moringa leaves or some ashitaba leaves or some other edible leafy greens that I'm growing in my garden besides carrot tops. But if I only had carrot tops, sure, I'd cut up some carrot tops, put it in a salad, and that's probably a good thing to do. I don't like to try to exclude any foods out of my diet. Of course, there are foods that I like more, and there's foods that I like less, and I wouldn't probably ever eat a salad full of just carrot tops cut up, but I probably would eat a salad full of, mixed lettuces with, 10% carrot tops mixed in there, right? And if you want to juice some carrot tops in your juice sometimes, hey, that's probably a good thing. But overall, I want to say this. I really want to encourage people to rotate their diet. Don't ever exclude any one thing, or don't ever eat one thing, as the primary focus of your diet, but try to include everything in your diet, all right? So hope that answers your question. And that's another thing, too. Even if I've been doing a raw foods diet now for the last 21 years at this point, I've always growing and changing and modifying my approach in what I'm doing. I've changed what I've been doing over these years. And, I want to encourage always everybody not to get stuck in a dogma, of a certain diet style, but, include and make the diet better based on latest research, and also how you feel when you're eating whatever you're eating, and also based on blood tests, which I have an episode coming up on a recent blood test I got and how am changing my diet based on my blood test results, right? And I want you guys to do the best you can, and as much as you could follow what I do, what I do is for me. And so I encourage everybody to, hey, see what I'm doing, but hey, maybe take some of the ideas that I use, maybe not everything, maybe most things, maybe everything, I don't know, it depends on you, and see if it feels right to you, and see if it works for you. And if it doesn't, try something else, what, some of the other teachers out there that you look up to, I will tell you guys this, I really look up to Dr. Joel Fuhrman, Dr. Michael Greger, and, the things they do, and incorporate many of the things they do into my personal diet style. But of course, I also take it to the next level, in my opinion, because I do something those guys don't do on any major level, is that I grow, as many of my fruits and vegetables as I possibly can. All right, next question is DDS. Why do we have canine teeth if we are not supposed to eat meat? We are in the animal category, just like the four-legged ones that need meat. Don't get me wrong, I loathe meat because I don't like eating something else blood, but maybe we need meat. Ugh. Huh. I don't know. Anyways, Didi, I was going to go ahead and pull out my little dog. His name's Oakley. He's beauty. But if you want to look at canine teeth, pick up a dog or a cat, right? They truly have canine teeth. Like, all their teeth are pointed sharp, right? If you look at our teeth, I mean, they're not pointed sharp. Okay, maybe most people have two canine teeth that are sharp on the edge, but this is like to rip into, like, plant foods, in my opinion. I'm no, expert on this topic. But if you look at our teeth, these are not canine teeth. Each person might have two canine teeth, but this doesn't automatically make us a canine or, make us a meat eater. Now, I'm not going to say, like a lot of vegans might say, like, we're not designed to eat meat. Okay, so I agree with that. We're not designed to eat meat. We could handle some meat because humans and, prehistoric humans, here's the thing. I'm not going to, like, try to make up stuff because I like to eat plants or anything like that. But here's the thing. We used to eat whatever we could get. I mean, right now in our society that we have and we've created, whether for good or for bad, I think mostly for bad, we have a society where we could get any food at the grocery store whenever we want it, and we have massive abundance. And the problem is most people are eating too much of this mass abundance and processed junk foods and crap foods and animal foods in just such excess, it's causing major health conditions, health crises, and the diseases of kings, which are the top killers of the world at this time, is because of the junk food, the processed foods, and the animal foods. Hands down, we cannot argue with that fact whatsoever. So what the answer to this is to eat plant foods. The best plant foods that I've determined are the high nutrient dense, high antioxidant rich plant foods, which contain mostly the fresh fruits and the fresh vegetables. Mostly the fresh vegetables, as well as the leafy greens, sprouts, and microgreens that most people don't eat. These are best digested with our teeth that we are given, right? Our teeth that we're given that's meant to chew things into a mush before we swallow. Not canines like my dog will take 2 chews and swallow because they have a totally different digestive system. So besides just saying, oh, we got canine teeth, well, let's look at our digestive system. And the digestive system on my dog is really short compared to our digestive system, where things take longer to digest, which would be like plant foods. And, we also have a beneficial bacteria, which is also another really important thing to have in our intestines, to have a proper microbiome in our intestines so that they help us digest the food, aside from us just chewing it into a small, size. And so the thing is, like, in the olden days when we were humans, well, we still are humans, before we had stores and all this stuff, right, we'd have to just basically, whatever we could find, we would eat, whether that was plants, fruits, leaves, animals. We would eat it just to survive because, it was a different time back then. And yes, we can get by. People can eat meat. We could live on eating meat. The question is, what do you want your health to be, right? In my opinion, if you eat too much meat, and this is proven with science, if you eat more than 10% of your calories by meat, you're not going to be optimally healthy. A person could get by with eating, 10% or less of their calories per day of meat or other animal products and probably be all right if they eat high nutrient dense plant foods, fruits and vegetables. After that, maybe like, beans and things like that and legumes. They'll be all right. And that's just what the science says, right? So, but I do not agree that we are canines or have canine teeth, aside from like 2 canines that are meant to grip things like plant foods when we're eating them. And our digestive systems are completely, for eating plants. So I know I'm going to end with that. That's just my opinion on that. I mean, people could be delusional about a lot of things, but yeah, dogs and cats, they definitely have canine teeth. And I mean, there's another topic whether they need to be meat eaters or not. They should be mostly meat eaters, but they should also eat plenty of plants, in my opinion, for a higher level of health than their ancestors. And and if you look at our ancestors, like even people in the Paleolithic times, they didn't eat diets of meat, right? They ate diets of predominantly vegetables and high fiber rich diet. And yes, they ate meat. I'm not going to try to mislead you on that, but they ate meat, but they ate smaller percentages of meat, and they ate lots of fiber, especially like wild food plant fiber that none of us are eating these days. I mean, I grow some wild foods and still eat some, but we need to eat more wild plant foods, in my opinion. All right, next question is from Emily BH. Hey, John, you should definitely do an interview with John Rose about the benefits of juicing. He would be a huge boost to your discount juicer business, and he has a plethora of clients in the Houston area who, through various juicing programs, have greatly improved their health, who are featured on a Houston area television talk show where he was interviewed. He started juicing without realizing the health benefits and was so impressed with all the mucoid plaque he got rid of, he kept doing it. Interesting guy. All right, Emily, yes, I have been aware of John Rose, man, back since like the 1990s when I started my first website, simply called rawfoods.com. And he was posted on there. He was like weighing his poop, and he was weighing everything that he ate, so he knew exactly what was coming out. I was like, man, this guy is very interesting. And here it is, like 20 years later or something, man. He's still doing his stuff. I'm still doing my stuff. And yeah, I mean, when I was out in Houston, I contacted him. He seemed like he was very interested in like doing an interview with me and all this stuff. And then I called him like, hey, we need to meet at this time, at this time. He's like, all right, I'll check with this and call me back. Then I called him back, and then he wouldn't return my phone calls or my emails. So I don't know, some raw foodists are just kind of weird. I had another experience with some other raw foodists here in the local area that contacted me that said we should get together. And then they just stopped responding to me. So I guess that's how raw foodists deal with things, is they don't tell you what's up, they just stop responding to you. So whatever, I'm cool. I'll lead my life, he'll lead his, and we'll do our own missions, and we just won't get to connect. And that's cool. I'm cool with that, whatever. It's all good. I'm glad he's doing his work, and I'll continue to do mine. And yeah, that's it. So next question from Amrit Basra. Hi, John. Your videos are very inspiring. Thank you so much for sharing this knowledge. I've been on and off raw since 2 years now. The maximum period on a raw diet for me was 30 days. My biggest problem is the cravings. I tend to easily give in to my cravings. Any recommendations as to how to control cravings? This time I really intend to stick with this diet. It's today, day 8, and I really, really pray and hope I can make it to at least 3 months. All right, Emrit, so the thing is this, like, cravings, what do you do? I mean, so, like, I have a much different idea about raw foods diets now than I did, like, when I started. When I started, I was like, I'm going to be 100% raw, or, and that was my goal, and I pretty much stuck to it. I mean, I, of course, had cravings during, whatever breakups with a girlfriend or whatever, and ate some, baked potatoes. I think a couple times I had some vegan McDougal burritos. Some of the healthiest other cooked plant foods you could eat. Gave into my cravings, but I learned through them. I learned when I ate baked potatoes, because they were just so good. I had so many, like, my next day, my energy level was like tanked, and I really didn't like not wanting to get out of bed and wanting to just sleep some more in bed. And normally I wake up and I'm like ready to jump out of bed and start my day and just go 100 miles an hour doing things a whole day. And that day it like took my energy away, and I didn't like that. And I would just encourage you to, if you do succumb to your craving, just feel what it feels like for that to happen, and know if you want that to happen again or not. And if you don't want to, you could do something different so that that doesn't happen. The other thing I would say for cravings is that if you're craving something, then I would try and encourage you to use a substitution principle. So if you're like craving some kind of sweet dessert cake, hey, make some kind of raw sweet dessert cake, or minimally have some like dates and nuts, or dates and nut butter, right? That's a nice sweet dessert to like take the place of a sweet dessert cookies or, other kind of processed food you would eat. If you're thinking about having some bread, eat something like raw food bread, some dehydrated crackers with some I don't know, raw hummus, or some kind of raw fermented nut cheese or something, And so just kind of try to do the substitution principle. This is one of the principles I teach. The other thing I want to encourage you, if you're having cravings, right, it may be a nutritional craving because you're craving something or a nutrient that you may not be getting. I don't know if this is the case or not, but if you're craving something salty, right, have some seaweed or some sea minerals, right? This is a really good substitute because not only will you get the salt, but you'll also get a plethora of other trace minerals, and this is what your body may be craving, you know, if you're craving certain foods. I mean, another thing that raw foodists that I've seen may be deficient in is certain essential fats, essential fatty acids. You know, I try to eat, you know, a handful of nuts and rotate these kind of nuts as well as some flax seeds every day to make sure I get some healthy fats in me because they are required nutrients. You know, I know that people can get them from eating only fruits and vegetables. You know, if you want to do that, that's great, and I have seen people do that successfully. But I like to eat some nuts and seeds because they've also been shown to enhance longevity. For example, people that ate nuts versus people that didn't, they live longer. And so also, you know, if you're craving things, you may not be getting enough fat or the proper kinds of fat. So I'd encourage you to look into that, and to especially the flax seeds. Flax seeds, one of my good old standbys. I like to put into my dressings every night, just a little bit, and some other nuts, as well as avocados and coconuts, which are my favorite kinds of fats. So yeah, hopefully that helps you out. And yeah, and the other last thing I want to say is that it's not about being all raw or not raw. Oh man, I fell off the raw wagon, right? I want you guys, instead of being like the goal is 100% raw, just set a percentage, right? I want to be 90% raw. Give yourself a 10% leeway, right? But I want that other 10% not to be like McDonald's or like junk vegan foods, and you guys know what that is. But if you are going to get off the raw wagon or whatever, just make it like steamed vegetables, you know, or some, you know, healthy, vegan, whole food cooked items, right? I mean, I don't want to be the raw police and say like, I don't know, you got to be all raw or you're a failure. No, man. The whole message of the raw foods that I've been trying to preach these last years are like, the more fresh fruits and vegetables you eat, the better. The more minimally processed they are, the better. You know, the higher volume you could get into, the better. That's why I like juicing so much, right? And just do the best you can, right? And don't like have this all or nothing kind of perspective. That's what like society kind of wants us to lead us into. Like, this is right, this is wrong. Either you're all raw, or you're not raw. Like, you know, let's like deal with shades of gray, right? Like, the more raw foods you eat, the healthier you're going to be. And try to just do the best you can, and you are a success. And tell yourself you're a success for drinking that juice in the morning, for eating a meal of fruits. And if you got to have a little bit of, you know, whatever, cooked beans or baked potato or steamed greens at night with your raw salad, right? Don't just like eat all cooked. You know, eat some raw with your cooked stuff, right? You're doing better than like the rest of the freaking world. So give yourself a thumbs up. All right. Next question is from Christopher Joseph. Hi, John. What's your take on amalgam removal? So yes, removing the amalgam or the mercury in your mouth. I definitely agree with it. You know, make sure you go to a dentist that knows what the heck he's doing. I would have probably went to a different dentist than the one I did. I got a referral from a friend of mine who got his removed, and then I went to the same guy, and I felt he could have did maybe a little bit better job than what he did. I mean, it's very important to get a dental dam and make sure you're fully protected from any of that stuff coming out. And then afterwards, you know, I did a lot of like cilantro, parsley, and chlorella to help me detox some of that stuff. And I will tell you that after I got my amalgams removed, you know, it took my health up to the next level. It may or may not do that for you, but I think it is a wise thing to do to get them out of you, because, you know, that's just it's not healthy in my opinion. All right, next question is from Anush Botanical. Our wholesale food vendors state all imported food to our continent is irradiated. Please do share your thoughts on this. So it depends what kind of food you're dealing with, right? I deal mostly with fruits and vegetables, so that's what I know. And most fruits and vegetables are not irradiated. There are some that are, but most of them are not. And if they are irradiated, they will be marked and should be marked on the box. Maybe not on the fruit though. So you got to be careful about that. In certain industries, you know, maybe certain processed foods and all this kind of stuff are irradiated, right? Organic food should not be irradiated. But I don't know about all the different foods and what industry you're in. But, you know, from the foods that you guys should be eating, the fruits and vegetables, you know, as far as I'm concerned, most fresh fruits and vegetables are not irradiated. All right. Bill Bryan, John, I keep hearing so much good stuff about apple cider vinegar. I want to ask if you would do a video on it. You may already have one, but you're so enthusiastic about raw vegan. I want to ask you personally about it. Thanks. So, Bill, there's been times where like I would eat apple cider vinegar like right when I got into raw foods. I was like, oh yeah, I'll eat apple cider vinegar, and Wigmore talks all about it and all this stuff, and it was in a lot of recipe books at the time. Then I learned more about like natural hygiene, and people would say vinegar is bad, and then I pretty much like kind of got rid of it, and then I kind of would use it, maybe only sparingly then, but now I'm learning so much new information about vinegar that I think it's a good thing, and I try to include it more regularly in my diet. You know, I just only get raw like vinegars and apple cider vinegar, and you know, I don't like drink the stuff by the gallons or nothing, but I might put a tablespoon into my dressings. It makes my kind of dressings taste better, and I think it's a good thing to do. All right, maybe one day I'll have a video on it, I don't know. All right, second to last question, KMS386. Hey John, I'm interested in juicing raw cannabis. I have a Champion juicer. Do you know if this will heat up too much? I don't want any psychoactive effects. I am strictly wanting it to do for health benefits as I suffer from Lyme disease. Thank you. So let's see. So a Champion juicer and raw cannabis leaves for juicing. I mean, just in general, I wouldn't recommend it. I don't like the Champion juicer for juicing greens in any case. And number one, it oxidizes them pretty bad because it does create some friction, which causes heat. And in the case of cannabis, you know, it may generate enough heat to decarboxylate the THC so that you get high from it. And if you don't want to do that, then I would not recommend that. I mean, it may work if you juice a few leaves, but I really, you know, for me, when I was juicing the leaves, I would juice high quantities of leaves and make a nice, really rich juice. The other thing you don't want to do if you don't want the psychoactive effects is don't juice it with coconut under any circumstances. I've done it once in a video where I actually juiced tangerines and coconut and cannabis leaves raw. I got high for 10 hours. That was not a fun experience. If I remember, I'll put a link down below so you can see what not to do. Or if you guys use cannabis, then you can see what to do if you want to get high for 10 hours. Not only did I do it, I then did it on my friend who actually gets high on a daily basis through smoking it. And he got high for 10 hours also, so it worked on him. And then I repeated the same thing with using coconut, beets and carrots, and cannabis, and I still got high. But I've juiced also many times the cannabis without the coconut, and I never got high, right? So yeah, don't include the coconut. I think that's really what kind of something with processing coconut at the same time with the cannabis could get you high. I mean, I listened to Dr. William Courtney, who's one of the foremost experts on medicinal cannabis and consuming it raw, and he said, cannabis is the raw food poster child. And I was like so excited. I'm like, he's like, you can't get high if you consume it raw. Well, I proved him wrong. All right. Check the link down below for that video. But anyways, I would recommend for you a single auger style juicer. You know, they're probably the best, and a horizontal single auger style juicer at that actually. So the Omega NC800, which is the one I'd recommend for you if you want to juice cannabis leaves. That's going to probably do one of the best jobs. But basically the horizontal single auger Omega NC800 is going to do the best job for you. So good luck. Down the last question, all right, it's a long one. SoCal. I just saw the video about John's friend David who had a stroke. The video confused me. It's very different than what John has recommended in the past, and I'm not sure he totally agrees totally or not. I've tried very hard to get to this point, and now a lot of the raw vegans are going back to cook food and more restrictions at the same time. Watching this video made me feel more discouraged than anything. Maybe I'll feel different later too after it sinks in. I guess you should be careful what you ask for. I'm 53, been raw vegan for 5 years now. I'm always looking for people who have lived a raw vegan lifestyle for many years to see how it turned out and advice. And here it was in this video for this guy. I'm generally not really impressed when I meet 20-year-olds who are overtly enthusiastic about a raw diet because, like he said in this video, when you're in your 20s, you can make big mistakes, not to pay till later. Not so true later. Deficiencies show up much sooner when you make those mistakes as you get older. I'm not putting out 20-year-olds. I think it's great when someone comes to a healthy diet so soon in life, very smart. I'm just tired of thinking about food so much, how we eat it, the amount, when we eat it, what we combine it with, and so on and so on. It changes every week. I don't think food was meant to take up this much time in our lives. I know we have to think for ourselves and hope you make the right decisions. So I might just have to take a break and stop trying so hard to get this right. All right, so here's what I'm going to say. I'll put a link down below to the video if you guys haven't seen it. It's my video, how my friend David actually had a stroke, even though he was eating a raw foods diet. And there are several contributing factors, and we try to basically outline this in the video. The only reason why I made that video, and he actually agreed to it, is to help other people, let them know what's going on, right? I've been doing this now for 21 years, and this 21 years I've been doing this, I haven't stayed on the same exact diet all these 21 years. My diet, in my opinion, has always been improving and getting better, and maybe if not improving, always changing, you know, to go along. And as I learn new information, I change what I'm doing. The basis of my diet over all these years is still the same. Predominantly, I eat fresh fruits and fresh vegetables, right? What has changed is maybe the ratios and other foods that I have now been including in my diet, and maybe didn't include previously, right? And the only reason for David's video is to let people know that just because you're vegan, just because you're raw vegan, doesn't make you immune. Because here's the thing is this, there's many different ways to be vegan. We know you can go out to junk food, fast food vegan places, right, and eat the crappiest vegan food. It doesn't mean it's healthy, right? You could eat, you know, plenty of raw foods, different ways to eat raw foods, and you could eat at raw food restaurants day in, day out, right? In my opinion, that's not so healthy either. Most of the raw food restaurants have a little bit higher fat percentages than I'd like to see, and they don't focus on the fruits and vegetables, right? There's many different ways to do raw food. So that video was basically put out to basically give some people some ideas and some thoughts and some things to dial in to think about, right? And there was a few points that I really took from that video And basically what I've kind of tried to teach people to this day, and what I still teach people, can fit into the model of that video for the most part. So here's the thing. So as you guys know, I've been teaching what I do in my life, and what I teach basically is you want to eat primarily fruits and vegetables, right? And have them in the fresh, raw, natural state. And what I've taught, even till now, is that I have basically 3 meals in a day. I might snack here and there sometimes, but generally I have 3 meals a day. Upon awakening, I drink water. So like 32, or coconut water, 24, 32 ounces to stay hydrated. I'm probably dehydrated right now, actually. That's number one. And then I work. And then I work until I get hungry, which may be a couple 4 hours later, depends what I'm doing. Then I'm eating my first meal of the day. The first meal of the day that I recommend, and what I eat, is I have either fresh juice, it could be a vegetable or fruit juice, or I could have a smoothie, it could be a vegetable or fruit smoothie, or it could be blended salad even. Or I have like a meal of fruit. I don't generally have a meal of salad, but it's a possibility. But in general, I do it's one of the other ones. Okay, so that's my first meal. Then my second meal is something that I didn't do the first time. So for example, if I ate a meal of fruit for breakfast, then I'm going to have a green juice or a green smoothie because I already had my fruit meal. I'm going to do something green for my next meal, right? If I had a green juice for breakfast, then I might do fruit for lunch. Some days I might do, a vegetable juice and a vegetable smoothie, right? So that's my second meal, right? And then my third meal is I'll have generally a vegetable meal for my last meal of the day, which could be like, marinara over like shredded zucchini. I use my peppers that are sitting right here to make a pepper marinara instead of a tomato marinara, since I have a lot more peppers than tomatoes at this point. And shredded zucchini. I could have a salad with some of my lettuce greens or some kale or ashitaba leaves or collard greens or any of the leaves that I'm growing around here. And I'll have a dressing. And my dressing will be like, maybe at this time of year I have so many peppers, it's usually pepper-based dressing. And I'll have peppers with a handful of nuts with some other different, seasonings and spices in it. And generally I do not use any kind of extracted oils, except there's one exception, which I'll talk about in a minute. But I do encourage people to have a lower fat consumption, maybe not completely eliminate it like some people that teach raw foods. I do not eat oils, except for the one that I'll talk about in a minute, but I eat low amounts of nuts and seeds, which I believe are beneficial, right? And so anyways, back to the video. In the video, David talks about, a few things. Number one, he was eating olive oil, right? Olive oil could really greatly mess up your omega-3 to 6 balance. And that's another thing that I have talked about in the past. I did a video with Dr. Dina about this, about essential fats. And it's important that we get enough and proper ratios of essential fats in our diets. And, some fats that people may focus on, maybe you get into a habit of you eat olive oil and then you eat almonds as your primary nut and fat that you like to eat. And that's all you eat, right? If you're doing that, you're going to really imbalance your omega-6s compared to your omega-3s. And that's why I like to include flax meal, almost daily when I'm able to help, kick up the omega-3s. And I've gotten omega-3 to 6 testing myself, and I was, better than other people that I've tested and better than the average American, but I wasn't where I wanted to be. So even me knowing about these ratios, I wasn't as good as I wanted to be. And I'm still, working to improve that. And one of the ways is by, taking the flax meal that I do every day. Now, the other way I'm doing that is based on the video that I made with David, right? He's taking an extracted algae oil, DHA oil. And so I got the water extracted DHA oil that he recommends, and so I got that, and I'm using some of that, maybe like a teaspoon or so a day when I remember, which isn't all the time. And I just poured it in my food, not into the blender because you could oxidize it, but when I'm done, I just pour it in my food and just mix it up, and it's just a little bit of oil, but it's basically DHA oil. And especially as you get older, kids that are in your 20s probably need to worry about this unless you really want to take it up a notch, but especially as you get older, I think this is really critical, for everybody on the planet at this point. Fish from the ocean are, contaminated now with mercury and all this stuff, and that's how people would get their DHA. If they're not making it themselves, and I'm not going to go into that whole topic because you can make it yourself if you're getting the right amount of omega-3 to 6s and your body is producing it properly. You can totally do it. So I'm not going to say that's not possible. I'm going to say that, I try to do as much of that as I can, but at the same time, I'm going to take some DHA to ensure I have proper brain function, proper brain health, especially into my older, mature years, and especially for my cardiovascular system. Proper essential fats is very, very critical. So I'm taking some extracted algae oils for this. That's the only oil I eat in small quantities. That's not even every day. I'd rather personally eat the algae that it's derived from, but I haven't been able to find a source of just the algae before they press out the oil from it, and then I'll eat large quantities of that algae instead. The other thing I took from David's video is reducing the fruit consumption, right? I think that's very important. I think some people, especially when you're younger, you can get away with eating a lot more fruit, and then as you get maybe more mature, I've seen it in many cases, not all, but a lot of people, may get sensitive to eating fruit, Furthermore, as much as fruit is a good food, I'm never going to really knock fruit. I'm going to say that vegetables, in my opinion, are more nutrient-dense food, and you can't argue that vegetables have more minerals. They also, depending on the vegetable, but especially the leafy greens, have more phytochemicals and phytonutrients, which are more disease-protective than fruits are. It's not that fruits are not disease-protective, or you can find one certain fruit from the Amazonia that's more disease-protective than my red lettuce, right? We want to include all these things, but we don't want to forget about the vegetables. And I think, unfortunately, many or some raw food diets, basically, minimize the vegetable consumption and the leafy green consumption, and I think that's to their detriment. Of course, I'm just sharing what I think and what I do, and whether you want to do that or not, that's up to you, right? So yeah, so those are the points. I reduce my fruit consumption to basically one fruit meal a day, no more. Sometimes maybe even less, but normally I have one fruit meal. I still like my fruit meal. I also, have been watching my essential fats, which is another point for David. And another thing that I've been doing that maybe David wasn't the best at doing is, living a peaceful life. I like to say peaceful versus stressful life, right? He's kind of high stress, high strung. He's has real estate and all these things, and probably has to deal with all kind of people all the time, and probably my blows top. I don't really know his personal life. I can just surmise, but I could say that, I think that's another contributing factor. So, to be peaceful, whether that means you want to meditate, whether that means you just want to get out to your garden and just chill out with your plants and not be like so eruptive. Every little thing will blow somebody out of shape and stuff. Something happens, I just like to most of the time laugh it off and look at the situation. Hey, how can I learn from this? What can I learn from getting Giardia? And not like, oh, I'm so pissed off about getting Giardia, or whatever happens in life, right? Like take whatever happens in life and turn it and ask yourself a question that benefits you instead of hurts you, right? That's what it is. That's what we need to do in life, and we just don't learn how to do this. Everybody should learn this in grade school, like how effective coping mechanisms as not to stress you out. We have stress, hormones and all this kind of stuff in our lives, and we could have stress to get adrenaline, right? But too much of that stuff can mess you up. If I'm in front of a lion and he's gonna roar at me and wants to eat me, that's a stressful situation. I'm gonna deal with that, and I'm gonna do what I have to do to stay alive, right? But other than that, you run out of money and whatever, somebody pissing you off because they cut you off on the freeway. That shouldn't really stress you out. And so you need to find a new way to deal with that more effectively, so that you be more at peace at yourself. Because aside from just the food you eat, how you live in your temple, how you take care of yourself, your environment, the air you breathe, the sleep you get, the exercise you get, these are all very important factors in your health. And the video with David, once again, was just trying to show, like, maybe, you know, some of the things that you might want to tweak. That's all. How you can tweak your diet to improve it, to make it better, or to have some things to consider, right? And especially if you're on this journey, right? One of the reasons, if you guys are still watching this, one of the reasons why you guys are still successful and why you guys are still watching this is because, and what I see, is because you question things, right? You ask questions. You ask yourself questions, you get a better answer, and you modify and change what you're doing instead of just reading a book and saying, I'm doing what that guy does because he knows all the answers. Well, guess what? I mean, I respect people that write books and stuff, but I do not respect people that keep their same dogma in their path, even with all this new 21st century knowledge, especially with the internet and especially with new studies and new information coming out all the time, right? You should always be fluid and changing and moving and growing, right? It's like nobody still has an iPhone 5 that's the best phone in the world, right? They're making it better, right? And you can improve your diet each and every day. And I want each and one of you guys that are still watching this, right, to think about, you know, wake up in the morning and ask yourself, hey, how can I improve what I'm doing today? Whether that's my diet, whether that's with my relationships, whether that's with my gardening, whether that's with my job, whether that's with anything, right? Because this is the way you will learn, you will grow, and you'll become better, right? And this is the journey of life, right? Life's about the experience, it's about the journey, right? And it is worth it, right? I mean, he was saying in here that it's like he's tired about thinking about food so much. Well, yeah, food's a part of my life, and once again, it is one part of my life, and you know, it's an important part of my life. I mean, I grow it, I take care of my garden, but it's like integral. We all need to eat, and whether you want to not think about food and go down to McDonald's, right? Plenty of people do that. You can think about food maybe a little more and go to Whole Foods and you try to buy organic stuff. You can think about even food more and try to invest in your garden. But basically, it comes down to your values and what's important to you. And I'm just here to share with you guys what I do. This is important to me. I love what I do. I'd rather not do anything else. You know what I'd rather do? Like be a stockbroker on Wall Street? Hell no! You can pay me to do that shit. My brother's always told me, John, you should get a tech job, man. You'd be making $1 million. Like that's not what I want to do. That would not make me happy, right? I like what I do. I really love learning about the plants, eating the food, teaching people all this stuff because this has saved my life and it can save your life too, right? And so I don't want you to just like everybody wants the easy way out. Like, oh, tell me what to do, I'll just do it. Life is not that simple. There's things you can learn and see how to do. But you know, information is constantly changing, knowledge is constantly changing. We're learning new things, and I think applying these new concepts and new things and new ideas, and including new foods in your diet as you learn about them, and not being stuck to dogma is truly the best way to live. So yeah, hopefully that answers your question, SoCal. I mean, that's pretty much my answer, right? I mean, I'm always learning and changing and growing, and I want teachers out there, whoever you guys are, to learn and change and grow and always improve what you're teaching and make changes. And don't be afraid to say, hey, I taught this before, and I didn't know better. I learned new information. I'm changing my approach now, and that's fine, right? It's not like you're losing face, right? We gotta get rid of that whole stuff, you know, like, oh, he changed what he does. No, I'm changing it for the better, and here's why, right? And so that's what I try to do. And that's why I grow my food, right? One of the reasons why I grow my food is because I've learned that it's the best way to have the highest quality food is to grow your own. So I really want to encourage you guys to take your diet to the next level, whatever your diet is, by growing your own food, whatever you're growing, right? You're gonna take your diet to the next level, provided you're growing it, you know, the best way possible. And that's simply what I teach, right? That's all my YouTube channels are about, sharing with you guys my life, places I go, restaurants I visit, and also my teachings, what I've learned, because one day, you know, my goal is to have my kids watch my YouTube videos so they'll know everything Daddy knowed. And I wish, you know, my dad learned everything I knew so that I could learn from his knowledge base and then just expand on it and make it better. And that's how we all learn and grow as a human population in this crazy planet we live in. So in any case, if you guys enjoyed this Q&A session, hey, please be sure to give me a big thumbs up. I'll do more Q&As in the future. I haven't done Q&As on this channel too much. I do it, you know, at least once a month on my other channel. But I would like to do it more if you guys want it, so be sure to give me a thumbs up. Also be sure to click the subscribe button right down below. It's very important. You'll be notified my new and upcoming episodes I have coming out every 5 to 7 days. And also be sure to check my past episodes. My past episodes are a wealth of knowledge. Over 400 episodes on this YouTube channel. Share with you guys all the different aspects and things you will need to know about how to healthfully eat a plant-centric, raw, fruit and vegetable dominated diet. And be sure to share this video with somebody you think it could help. And finally, I guess with that, I gotta go in and hydrate myself. This is John Kohler with OKRaw.com. We'll see you next time, and until then, remember, keep eating your fresh fruits and vegetables. They're always the best. All right, this is John Kohler with OKRaw.com. Today we have another exciting episode for you. And where I am today in the world is Southern California, SoCal, here in Rosemead, California. And the reason why I'm making this video for you guys today is share my